broke my heart of how the young boy, how he walked away with dignity. He didn't fight back or anything, but it did break my heart. That could have been my child. That could have been anybody's child.
There's been an uproar over footage of a Syrian refugee being attacked at a high school in the UK. The video, which went viral, shows an older student pushing 15-year-old Jamal to the ground and pouring water in his face. The aggressor has received hundreds of death threats, while online right-wing campaigners are attacking Jamal's credibility. Well, joining me now in London is Tasnime Akunjee, the lawyer representing Jamal's family. Tasneem, good to have you on the Newsmakers once again. Obviously, we see these videos, appearing in our Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds and so on. You're close to the family. You're the lawyer representing the family. What happened in the build-up to it and at that moment, according to the best available evidence?
Well, at this stage, I need to tell you that the boy who is the protagonist in the video, he has been arrested and summoned to court. So speaking about the incident itself falls under the judice rules, and so it's going to be difficult to talk about any aspect of that. In terms of leading up to it, Jamal and his family, they came to the UK under a UN program from Lebanon, where they had originated from Syria about 2 years ago. Jamal and his sister were put into that particular school, and very quickly thereafter they started being the subject of quite extensive bullying. Now that bullying carried on for over a year and a half, and culminated in the events that we've all seen, really.
Okay, and it's important to hear the parameters from you in terms of what you can talk about and what you can't, and also hearing that the boy has been arrested. Is it clear to you that Jamal was bullied for being a Syrian refugee?
Well, he's been very clear, and so is his sister, both of which were in the school, that they were bullied, and being a refugee and their ethnicity as being Arab and Muslim as well. All of these differences with the other students were picked upon as a subject matter thrown at them for bullying purposes.
Yeah, there are others who look at the video and think that how different is this from all sorts of bullying all over the world. This is as old as time itself. Maybe it's not about political or cultural reasons. Perhaps this is just about an older kid, a bigger kid being a jerk, bullying a smaller kid. Is that a fair interpretation of that video when people see it?
Well, I mean, that would be a fair interpretation of what sort of George Bush did to Iraq as well, if you want to scale it up or scale it down to the individual or to the nation and countries. On one view, let's say the behaviour has been called in the video waterboarding. Now, in the UK government tangentially had been involved in having individuals rendered and put into Guantanamo Bay, where they were waterboarded. And the UK has spent millions of pounds compensating those people because they accept that what happened there was very wrong. But then we can't then say, here's a behaviour practice that requires a state to apologise, and then see the same practice aped by children in schools and say, oh, well, it's just bullying.
What should be, yeah,
it wouldn't have got the, it wouldn't have got the public sympathy and outcry that it has if it was just simple bullying.
Right. Okay, and that's interesting because I wonder what should be under scrutiny here, or who should be under scrutiny? The bully or British society for creating this context in which this happened?
Well, if we look at the statistics, the coalition government, which is a complex of the current government and a previous party that stepped away, that was some years ago. They took the requirement, the legal requirement, to report bullying and keep statistics around it away from schools. So it becomes very difficult to see the trend in bullying directly, but there are statistics around the number of students who've been excluded from schools because of bullying. And in the last 2 years, we see a particular spike in increases of incidents of bullying, and going back even 2 more years, you see a more gentle spike culminating in the one that we have now. On some indices, it's a 30 or 40% increase in bullying in simply the last 4 years. Now, there are a lot of other factors. If we look at schools and children, they don't really exist in a vacuum. They exist within the context of home, local society, and national society, as well as the television. And many have commented that maybe the nature of our political discourse, so how adults and responsible adults on the face of it are having a discussion in the public sphere, is certainly affecting our children. And we mustn't also forget the impact of online bullying and now, video bullying. It appears that this is where one of these videos came from. And we see a ramping up of the extremities of behavior towards people generally. We've seen a huge amount of Islamophobia in the UK. We've seen rhetoric from key politicians really calling names in a very childish manner,
Right.
very publicly about a community. And so it's no real surprise that children then respond to those signals given by adults and ape that.
Tommy Robinson had a few things to say after he saw the video, and you're suing him for defamation. Tell us why.
Yes, because he's a liar. It's really that simple. He repeated lies about a child in circumstances where the child was a refugee, a vulnerable individual, on top of being a child which is vulnerable, then brought to the UK where they're supposed to have sanctuary, then being bullied mercilessly for a year and a half, and a grown adult man called Mr. Robinson decides to make up and tell lies about that child for his own political and social gain.
And very finally, tell me what it means that it seems as if everyone wants a piece of Jamal. A lot of people have reached out to you, people have wanted him to appear on their radio shows and so on. What does that say about what's going on right now in the UK?
Well, I'll say Jamal's situation has touched a nerve. The UK, as I say, has become quite polarised in its politics. There's been a huge rise in the right wing, and I think that when you see someone like Jamal, who's a very, very sensible, mature child, and sensitive despite all he's been through, when you see the absolute victim being treated that way, and you know in your heart that that's got something to do with what we've done to this country, then I think that's why we can explain the public outcry. It's partly guilt about where we've taken this country.
Tasnime Akunjee, good to have you once again on the Newsmakers. Thanks for joining us.